And I think we sold about $5,000 worth of stuff during the live stream. I think another 5,000 immediately thereafter. Very successful. And in general, like, I think that's the best approach if you're not going to do a recurring live stream.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast, brought to you by IndiePRO.io.
What's up, Indies? Welcome back to the Creative Juice podcast. This is episode 356, and we're ringing in 2025. Happy New Year, Indies. Very excited about today's episode because we're going to be kicking it off by answering your music marketing questions today. And I think this is going to be a really fun one. I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. With me, as always, is Circa. Happy New Year, Cirque. What's up, dude? Welcome back.
Happy New Year!
Woo!
Just kicking it, dude. Very excited for this. For those of you guys who don't know, because you're not in the IndiePRO community, we do live Q&As 2 to 3 times per week in the group. So we're always answering questions, and it's where I feel most comfortable. So very excited.
I'm pumped about this. We pulled questions from our IndiePRO mastermind group. We pulled questions from our email. We pulled questions from YouTube comments and Instagram and all over the place to find some questions that we thought were interesting and that a lot of indies tend to ask. So some of these highlight, I think, questions that a lot of you guys might have. And Circa and I are going to go off the cuff and answer some questions and hopefully give you guys some insight and some actionable things to focus on as we roll into 2025 here. I'm very, very excited.
Hell yeah. Let's get it.
Let's kick it off. All right, here we go. This is a good question. It's about branding and your album. We got a question. I just recorded a new album and I'm starting over from scratch with my branding. What do I do first? Man, loaded question.
Yeah. So just got finished recording an album and starting over from scratch with your branding.
Yep. And what do I do first?
So for those of you guys who don't know, again, in IndiePRO, we have a training from the guy who designed our brand. Casey Schumacher is a professional brand designer and a UI UX guy. We had him do a full course on branding for artists. And it's primarily about, you could split branding into 2 different categories. And people mistake this a lot. A lot of people think branding is just my colors, my fonts, and then like graphical elements and a logo. And these are all parts of your visual brand, but there's more your philosophic, or I guess your cultural brand, right? Which is like, what do you value and how are you going to communicate that through what you do and how you look, right? For instance, like IndiePRO is sort of a fun, approachable, sort of punk brand that is educational in nature. We're here to educate independent artists on music business and marketing and try to cut out a lot of the fluff. So we do tend to have a lot more fun, not taking ourselves too seriously, brand elements. You can tell that in our colors. You can tell that in the rounded corners. You can tell that in the buttons on our website, which are uniquely designed. All that goes into branding, but it's informed by sort of the philosophic elements. What are you about? What are you trying to do? It's better to come up with a logo and a color scheme and a font scheme, knowing what that is, than it is to do it completely blind. And so that's why you want to get those elements first. So first figure out, like, what are you about? What are you supposed to represent to people? What are people supposed to get from your brand? Like, what does your brand mean to them? What should it communicate? Once you figure that out, then you can take a fresh eye towards what your logo might look like. And there's a lot of great info in that course for IndiePRO members about that. And you can carry that over to your color scheme, your fonts, all of that. So those are my thoughts. I'd say you should start off. If you're in IndiePRO, definitely take that course. If you're not in IndiePRO, we do have I think we did a podcast episode with Casey that has some good info in it. But yeah, it's really about first cementing what you want to communicate philosophically, culturally to people with your brand, and then going to choose all of the visual elements of it.
Yeah, I want to just add to what Cirque was saying there, specifically because you just finished recording a new record. I actually think you're in prime position to ask yourself the questions. What am I all about? What am I trying to convey to my fans? Who am I as an artist? And how do I want that to be represented? You can kind of sit down now, I think, and probably reflect on what the songwriting experience has been like for you with this new record, what you've been trying to convey as far as like the meaning behind the album as a whole or the songs, how they connect together, what message you're trying to put out into the world. Now's kind of a good time to do it because hopefully it's fresh in your mind, and maybe you've even built up some content in the process of creating the record that you could look back on and be like, well, who am I now as an artist? Has something changed? Have I gone from an earlier state, maybe from your past record, or if this is your first record, have I gone from never having recorded something before to having this new body of work? And is this representing a change in me and how I want to put myself out there as an artist? If you're talking about rebranding as it is, the answer to that question might already be yes. But I think it would be good, just like tactically speaking, how I like to approach these sort of things is honestly grab a notebook, sit down on a comfortable chair, and just start writing down who you want to represent yourself as in the world and to your fans as an artist. And once you start to get that down on paper, then you can take all of the steps that Cirque was talking about and start to actually build a visual brand off of that idea. But the first thing you got to do is you got to answer that question, who am I? It's an existential question.
Yeah. And that can be as simple as like trying to pick a midpoint of what your subject matter is like. That could be as simple as like really clarifying in text, like writing it down, what your character as an artist is. I think that's really helpful because I think we all sort of adopt a character that is extra normal, or rather like it's not us, right? It's a little bit exaggerated us, or it's one element of us that's amplified.
It's the hero or the villain of your story.
Right. So if you can really get down your character as an artist or as a band and figure that out, then that can start to inform kind of what you want to communicate. And this really extends. I think the part that's often overlooked is like, branding is not just how you look, it's also what you do.
Yeah.
When you make decisions about marketing campaigns, about, how you want to release, about how you want to price things, about how you want things to go, about like all of that, everything you do as a music business, quote unquote, should be informed from that sort of crystallized vision of what your brand is and what you're communicating to people.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I hope that this was helpful. Brand questions are always good ones because they weave in between the philosophical and the sort of tactical, actionable, visual stuff,
For sure.
Super cool. Here's another good one. How do I use live streams in my marketing and my sales efforts? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude, coming with a loaded question. This is a good one. I definitely have some opinions on this of where I would start, but where I would start focusing on is, first things first, if you want to do live streams, and it sounds like you do, the first thing that I would do is I would identify a cadence by which I want to do live streams. I would pick a date, and I would pick a time, and I would pick a theme for what I want those live streams to be. What are you going to do with your fans on them? Are they going to be Q&As? Are they going to be purely performance? Are they going to be contest giveaways? Is it going to be engagement driven? Are you going to be playing video games? Are you going to be writing songs? What are you going to do on those live streams? Define that. Define the time and date and the length of the live streams if you can, so that you're starting to build like a program for yourself of what it's going to look like to do them. Get that structure in place first and start doing. And then how that supports your marketing efforts is it provides the nurturing infrastructure. We spent a lot of time over the last few episodes talking about creating attention, capturing attention, and monetizing attention. This is part of capturing attention, and it gives your fans somewhere to go, something to do with you on a regular basis. It makes you a part of their life. So that's how it affects your marketing and your sales. It acts as the bridge between creating attention and monetizing attention in some ways. It also keeps fans around, which is really, really powerful. So that's kind of like the baseline recommendation that I would make. Cirque, maybe you can expand upon it a little bit.
Yeah, again, as Jack said, like it's strictly a nurturing activity for the most part when you live stream. And a big mistake that people make is that they go into live stream with maybe, if not an explicit presupposition, an implied presupposition that this is going to help them get new attention. And it's not going to. That's really not what it's for. And so I would not recommend striking up a live stream until you have an audience whose attention you need to keep. Okay, so it's after you have a mechanism for getting attention. I would not put an ounce of effort into a live stream production until I have a way to get attention.
I agree with you there, because you will quickly burn yourself out. Even if you think you love the idea of doing live streams, you'll quickly burn yourself out if you do live streams and you have no one show up.
Yeah, that could be disastrous. I think also there's two ways I see live stream slotting. One is one-off events, which are typically going to assist sales. And it's a tactic that's actually not used often enough, but I have experience doing it using live streams to generate sales. So we did a live stream album release for Nino Bless when I was working with him. We released his album on a live stream where we streamed the whole album with video content. It was amazing. And then throughout the whole thing, we were dropping links to exclusive merch, limited edition. So it was literally a door rush every time we dropped a link in the live stream. And I think we sold about $5,000 worth of stuff during the live stream. I think another 5,000 immediately thereafter. Very successful. And in general, like, I think that's the best approach if you're not going to do a recurring live stream. The other option is a recurring live stream where it's like, my fans know they can show up every week at this time, at this place, and I will be engaging with them, interacting with them. I think that's a super powerful way to keep attention and nurture. And certainly we've seen someone blend the two, where our agency client, Dave Pettigrew, has had a live stream every week, I think for years.
Yeah.
And consistently sells merchandise through it. And I think that's a great unification of the two concepts. But ultimately,
he sells merchandise and memberships.
Yeah, amazing. And you can think of it sort of like a home shopping network or a QVC, right? It's like that kind of vibe.
For sure. To add something additional to this, just to keep in your quiver, another monetization element to live streams that you can consider, and this is a bit more of an advanced play. You definitely have to have audiences that you've created. You have to have attention. You have to have audiences that are well engaged with you and sticking around. And ideally, you need to have customers already to pull this off. But paid live streams that are ticketed can perform really, really well, especially around milestone events in your career. For example, releases. You can do paid live streams around a release or around a premiere. These can work really, really well ticketed. Additionally, like, I've seen a number of examples from our clients at the agency where we've actually strategized live streams that were based around holidays. Actually, quite a few of our clients do paid holiday live streams, Christmas live streams, where they'll do a concert on live, sell tickets to it. It's kind of like a big Christmas party. I've seen bands do anniversary parties like this for their band's birthday. That can work really well. Also, again, a bit more of an advanced strategy, and it's not recurring. It's not like, oh, they're planning a paid live stream every month. I haven't seen that work well. So I wouldn't lean on that strategy. So don't jump to conclusions there. But one-offs can work really, really well around big milestones if you plan it out.
Yeah, 100%.
Dig it. Live streams are a great topic. We don't talk about them too much recently on the podcast, but I'm glad that this question came up for sure. The next one is interesting. We're kind of continuing along the nurturing discussion here. How far out should I plan my nurturing emails if I have a small list, say under 1,000, or a big list, say over 10,000?
What do you think of that?
I think you shouldn't really be planning out nurturing emails all that far, regardless of how big your list is. I think at most a month, really, just strategically speaking. Like, maybe early on, if you're first just starting to build an email list, maybe you've got like a batch of ideas or topics that you can pull from, and that gives you some ammunition to start building your nurturing email campaigns around. Maybe you can build a framework or some shells with that. But really, like, in many cases, nurturing emails are based on content that you're releasing or have released in the past, or experiences or things that are going on in your life or in the life of your band or your career. And that's where a lot of the nurturing email campaigns kind of get their fuel. So a lot of that happens in fairly real time. I would say just speaking from experience of how we operate with clients at IndieX, it's about as far out as a month. Like, I wouldn't really go too much further than that. Now, that said, if you've got like a recurring content series, could you plan out 3 months worth of emails in your email marketing platform that you've got drafts for that then you can plug and chug content into as you go? Sure. You can build that kind of backlog, but can you plan the content perfectly, 3 months out? I don't think so. I wouldn't really recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the case that what were the list sizes you said?
Under 1,000 or around 1,000 and above 10,000.
So above 10,000, it makes sense, I think, to have a content calendar that then informs what your nurturing email calendar looks like.
I would agree. Yeah, for sure.
So, and again, just like Jack said, that's like a month out max, I think. But then that's where the differences end. And then between about 1,000 to over 10,000, it's very similar. That you should have nurturing sequences that are planned out for key moments in the fan journey. So just signed up for your email list, that deserves its own, not only planned out, but fine-tuned, something that you have an initial plan for, you launch it, you then measure how it does, and you adjust it for when people join your list for the first time. And then there's other key moments like first time purchase, significant purchase, in terms of dollar value. These are all places where you want to have pre-planned nurturing sequences that deliver. The main goal with a nurturing sequence that you plan out is to surprise and delight. So, people sign up for your email list. They did it probably because you promised some value. And the nurturing sequence's job is to deliver that promise value and then deliver bonus unplanned for value. So it should be more than they bargained for. And then the same is true of like post-sales nurturing emails. First time purchase. Okay, we told you we were going to give you all these bonuses. We told you we were going to send you this stuff. We'll deliver all that, but then we're going to deliver something extra that we didn't mention. And what that does is it conditions people to expect very great experiences when transacting with you, whether that be giving you their email address or some information.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think it is really important to separate nurturing sequences from, regular sending campaigns, because there is a difference here. Like the nurturing sequences, those are the ones that you can plan out. You're planning a path, right? When fans take certain actions with you, whether that be signing up for your list, whether that be signing up for a bribe, whether that be purchasing something, that kind of nurturing, sure, you can plan it out. Do you need to plan out 10,000 steps or 10,000 emails within it? Probably not. I see a lot of artists jump to that conclusion of like, oh, well, I can just program out a 12-month email sequence that will just nurture people automatically and it will be all good. You can spend your time doing that. Do I think that that's the best use of your time? Probably not. And that's where the difference between sequences versus regular sending campaigns that can be a bit more timely, a bit more real time, and influenced by what you've got going on a content calendar as you're growing. I'm also glad you mentioned that, Cirque. You're right. As you grow as an artist, like you're going to get to a place where you have a content calendar that kind of dictates what's going on social media, how it relates to your releases, how it relates to whatever else you've got going on in your career. And most likely your email marketing is going to be tied into that.
Yeah. And it's like, like let's say you had a weekly live stream that is meant to nurture your larger fan base. That's going to be on your content calendar, and it won't change much from month to month, but you will plan out how you're going to email around that. Similarly, I'd say your content calendar is like, you have content that facilitates other things. So you might be releasing a single, you might be releasing an album, you might be releasing a new product line, you might be running a sale. These are all things for which having a content calendar and a plan comes in real handy, because then you can say, okay, we're going to allocate these posting days to this end goal. And the KPI there is we're trying to drive traffic to X. We're trying to get streams on Y, that kind of thing. So at that point, you have a content calendar, and your email nurturing really centers around that content calendar. Your email nurturing is trying to facilitate the same goal using content as sort of the carrot, right, on the stick. You can email people about new content. You can email people about new things that they might enjoy. where the sort of pill in the peanut butter is like, I have this ulterior motive. I'm trying to promote my new single, or I'm trying to promote my new product.
Right. Man, we covered nurturing, I think, really well in two sort of different but similar channels, right? Live streams and email.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to touch on these. Great questions. The next one is good. It's about customer ascension. I have a free plus shipping and handling funnel that is going great. Follow-up sales, not so much. How do I generate sales outside of my funnel? This is such a good question. And it's something that is probably one of the harder nuts to crack, I think, when it comes to running a free plus shipping and handling funnel, getting those second repeat purchases. So there's a lot of threads that you can pull from here. The first thing that I would consider is not knowing what your funnel looks like, is I would look to see what is your actual funnel stack? What's going on in the offer stack? How many order bumps do you have? How many upsells do you have? Do you have downsells? Are you maximizing the cart value within that funnel itself? That's like question number one that I would ask myself, because out there in the wild, I see a lot of funnels that are not as effective as they could be because they're missing out on revenue opportunities within the funnel itself. And then, an artist might be wondering like, well, someone, picked up my free CD and the accompanying bump product and then hasn't bought anything else. But then when you look under the hood, it's like, well, you didn't offer them anything else within that funnel. So you're really not driving the highest intent kind of customer either. So that's about like setting yourself up to have higher value customers straight out the funnel. So that's like part number one that I would look at. Part number two that I would consider is, what are you doing to follow up with those people after the fact? How are you segmenting them? What kind of offers are you making in email? That's the next place that I would look. And I would also consider, of the customers that you're creating, if you're starting to run regular sales promotions, which is generally speaking what you do to create movement from first-time customer to repeat customer, is you run sales promotions. You should look to segment the highest value customers first and look to ascend them, because they're going to be the ones that are probably most likely to say yes to a second offer. The lower ticket folks, you might have to work a little bit harder in terms of discounts and crazy offers to get them over that second hurdle, because the barrier to entry for them was really low. So that's my take.
I agree. I think also like it's a matter of expectations. So one, Jack's correct. Like if you're not maximizing point of sale value, you're missing out on the mathematics that make this work, right? So the chances are your average free plus shipping and handling like claimant person who claims that offer, they're not going to buy anything from you ever again, nor pay attention to you ever again. That should be your expectation going into it, not to like depress you, but just to prepare you for success, which is to say that like the free plus shipping and handling is a top of funnel strategy. By definition, most of the people who do it will not can be long-term fans. Just like most of the people who watch a video ad on social are not going to become your long-term fans. That's not the point. It's a filter. We're just trying to find the people who will stick around. And I think oftentimes people judge their free plus shipping and handling funnel incorrectly, because they're looking for, a 50% conversion rate to like second time purchase, or even a 10%. And it's like, no. Look at the conversion rate of video viewer to long-term fan. And that's more aligned with the expectation you should have of your FSH than like, the conversion rate of email list subscriber to customer.
Right. For sure. So yeah, I think that that's a good expansion, Cirque. Like it's expectation setting, and then you can get tactical with the right expectations in mind. That's why I mentioned like go after the people that are higher value from that funnel, because they're the ones that are most likely to purchase again because they've spent more with you, logically speaking. Second thing, look at the time window by which you're making a follow-up offer. And are you offering products within the funnel to people that didn't take them? There's a lot of damage that you can do there by, continue to discount down, giving exclusive coupon codes and things like that. You can kind of grease the wheels a little bit for people who didn't take you up on, say, the t-shirt upsell. You can offer that to them again a little bit later, potentially after they've gotten, their first product, first thing in hand at their house. You can work that angle. And then, like I said, start running regular sales promotions, get those customers into the mix, and you'll find that your ascension rate goes up. The percentage of that, the take rate, that's anybody's best guess. I couldn't give you a benchmark. It wouldn't be fair to give any artist a benchmark. You just have to start you set your benchmarks and then you work to improve them.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we're going into ad land with this question. Are retargeting campaigns still viable? Should we be focusing only on cold traffic in the ad space right now?
I think the mistake is not focusing on one over the other. The mistake is failing to realize that they are synonymous now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, your cold targeting campaigns are retargeting campaigns at this point, because Facebook has enough data to confidently say, when you tell them, hey, I want this end result, and I want you to take any means necessary to achieving that end result, what you're telling Facebook is like, find me the people most likely to do X. And oftentimes those people are the people who last visited your website, the people who follow you on social, the people who have signed up to your email list. These are all conversion events that Facebook is most likely aware of, especially if they happen on platform, is very aware of them. And so Facebook knows not only, like, if you do a retargeting campaign, let's say you do a retargeting campaign, you say, I want to show this ad to everyone in my video viewers. You're excluding the rest of the world, and then you're only including your video viewers. But the thing is, there's someone in the rest of the world cohort who is more likely to convert than the least likely person in the video viewers cohort. But Facebook doesn't have the option, because you ran this like 99.99% exclusion. Facebook doesn't have the option to show it to that person, even if it would be better for you. And so I would generally just trust Facebook to know what's best in this case.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit of additional maybe context or padding around this, because that's a lot of that's drinking from the fire hose, right, of media buying a bit. To give you guys some added context of where I still pull strict retargeting campaigns into place is usually around time-limited offers, specifically like time-limited sales promotions. I still find myself pulling retargeting audiences into single ad sets where I'll build like an all-warm ad set where I'm stacking, video viewers, page engagement, Instagram engagement, email list, all into one fairly big and bulky ad set. And if I'm running, say, a holiday sales promotion, like we just got past the holidays, if I'm running a holiday sales promotion, or I'm running a tour blowout sale and it's going for, a week and a half, what loading up your warmest or hottest audiences does for you is it gives Facebook the quick and easy wins very fast. And within those audience sets. Now, like Cirque said, you're severely limiting what Meta can do in the ad space, in the auction, because you're constraining it. But when you're working with a tight time window and a limited sales promotion, getting those fast wins is not a bad thing. It works. It still works very well. So to answer the question, is that viable? Yes, it is. This is where it's viable in these strategic instances. Now, does that mean, I'm getting, $2 purchases on this sales promotion, I should just keep running the sales promotion? No, you're going to run out of steam. Like, you're going to run out of audiences because, again, going back to what Cirque talked about, the way that the machine learning works is you've now constrained it where it can't go beyond those audiences. It won't go beyond those audiences because you told it not to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely concur with Jack. And I guess I should have probably pointed that out earlier, is that like, it very much matters what the nature of the campaign or objective you're trying to achieve is. For time limited stuff, really what I said, you can just apply the limiter to it of like, do you need this to run long term? If you're trying to build long-term campaigns, assets that you can reuse time and time again, then yeah, you don't want to limit the audience, because Facebook is going to need to churn through a lot of impressions and a lot of audience to find you the people who are likely to convert. And it's going to need lots of data, and you should not make it data starved in that way. But if it is like, if it's something short term, if it's something that's like, I literally have to shut this off in a week anyways, then yeah, just like Jack said, you can get some tactical wins there.
Yeah, I dig it. Man, that was good. I'm glad we talked about that. That's a big question. I hear that a lot. And it's honestly, it was kind of good to set the table with that a little bit, I think, too. It's been a minute since we've clarified about retargeting and some of the tactics and strategies that we use when we're working with clients or advising artists. Here's the last one, TikTok. What IndiePRO strategies work on TikTok, if any? There's two pieces to this. We can talk organic and we can talk paid ads.
I'll defer to you as someone who's sort of boots on the ground with this in the agency a lot more than I am.
For sure. So what strategies that we teach or employ here at IndiePRO work on TikTok, if any? I'm going to talk about paid ads, and then I'm going to hand it off to Cirque to talk about organic and building content. These two things feed into each other. But from a paid ads perspective, generally speaking, I only recommend running ads on TikTok when you have a piece of content that has started to get viral traction. That may look different for you compared to an artist that has been viral multiple times. Traction for you might mean 10 or 15,000 views on a video very quickly. And then you could consider running paid ads on that to reach more audiences, amplify the virality, and get it going. For a bigger artist, that might mean 100,000. And then they're like, oh, this one's starting to take off. This is an approach that we take with a lot of our clients at the agency. If they regularly produce viral content, we will amplify that viral content with paid ads on TikTok. And it works really well. You just have to gauge what your threshold of traction is. So that's when we pull out paid ads on TikTok. It's really the only time that we pull out paid ads on TikTok. Free plus shipping and handling is against TikTok's terms of service when it comes to paid ads, so you can't run free plus ship.
People still get away with it, but it is against TO.
Yeah, people still get away with it, but not for long. Like anytime we've ever tested that, the ad account will get slapped within, a week or two. It doesn't last. And sales retargeting campaigns, because we don't have retargeting audiences quite in the same way on TikTok that we do across Facebook and Instagram, the organic audiences that you build up, the fan base that you build up on TikTok isn't as easily retargetable for things like sales promotions. So those retargeting campaigns that I said work really well, you can't do them the same way on TikTok. So we don't tap into that. So where I see TikTok as a vehicle, a channel for artists, it's best for top of funnel and then amplifying top of funnel, at least in terms of the strategies that we often recommend. And Cirque, maybe you can talk a little bit about like content creation and actually getting fans.
Yeah. So we did a workshop for our IndiePRO members. You can find it. If you're an IndiePRO member, you can find it in your workshop's vault. I did it. It's called How to Dominate Social Content. And really what the model is just to say there's probably, for every genre and style and even image and personality type out there's probably someone on TikTok who very closely mirrors you, who is already finding some level of success with organic content, because just the TikTok creator space is so vast that like it's highly likely, unless you have a crazy like niche set of circumstances where there's only like 2 of you on planet Earth, there's probably someone on TikTok who's already gaining an audience with organic content. And I think the smart thing to do, the prudent thing to do, is to model what they're doing, is to go and find those people and really become a student of what they're doing. So find the people who are like you, similar image, similar sound, similar, background, similar personality type, similar humor, everything. Find the closest matches and then systematically catalog their success. So you want to find the videos that did best for them. What are those videos like? What are the parameters of those videos? You want to find all of that, and then you want to model it. Modeling is a nice way of saying copying, right? It's not exactly copying, because you're going to just extract the characteristics, but not do a one-for-one remake of what they did. So for instance, if you find that their most successful videos it's a smartphone, it is shot at shoulder level, they're standing in front of a microphone, they have a guitar, and it's about 10 feet away from them, the camera. It's daylight, they're in their apartment, there's plants around. Like, these are all characteristics that you could impose into your video without directly stealing from them, like what they're doing. And so, yeah, I would highly advise that you take that route where you find those people on TikTok, which is in itself a bit of a process. You then go and you start becoming a student of their content. So you, like, every day or once a week, you are recording down their content. What does best? What are its characteristics? What can you infer about why it did best? And once you have enough data, then try to start to create your own content that models what works for them. And I think it's smart to aim for something like 3 times per week, maybe even once per day, if you can get up to that, because it gives you enough at bats to get a lot wrong, but still find stuff that works.
Right. Yeah.
And then from there, to get a little bit into the nuance of it without like making this the whole episode, is that, like, not only are you looking for video characteristics that work really well, that allow you to make a high performing video, but you're also looking for not only which songs of yours, but which sections of those songs perform best. Because it's often the case that individual songs will outperform the rest of your catalog, and sections of those songs will outperform other sections. And your best foot forward is to create multiple videos with those song clips.
I know you said you didn't want to dive too far into this and make it the whole episode, but we're lucky. We did a whole episode on this process, and Cirque outlined it, and I asked him all the questions that you guys might have had about it. So I'll make sure we link to that in the show notes. But that outlines TikTok, I think, both from an organic and a paid traffic point of view. And hopefully, now that Cirque has gone into the process of creating the content and posting it, you can see how what I was talking about on the paid ads front feeds into that. Both of those things kind of create a feedback loop for each other, which is great. That's where TikTok becomes an audience engine for you.
100%.
So yeah, these were great questions. Thank you guys so much for asking them all across anywhere we could find them here at IndiePRO. And thanks to Praveen on our team for helping us to source these. He did a great job of picking out some really, really good questions. If you guys have more questions and you're watching on YouTube, make sure you drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you, and maybe we'll pick some of them for the next Q&A we do. We like to do these every once in a while, at least once or twice a year, and pick up some questions from everyone in the IndiePRO community. But until next time, we'll catch you guys later on Creative Juice. Peace out, Indie.
Can y'all really feel me? Feel us, East Coast, feel us, West Coast, feel me. Say what?